The good news is it's the starter. The bad news is it's the starter, and I've never dealt with one of these before. I've taken 390 starters off of pickup trucks and off of 428 Cobra Jets, the later cars, but these early ones like the 63 back behind me, I have no idea, because it's got that weird long extended shaft with the Bendix on it. We'll learn together today.
Restoration of a classic Ford is a journey of discovery. Let Autocrafters help you with yours. We offer quality parts for Falcon, Fairlane, F-Series, Galaxy, Maverick, and Pinto. Contact us today.
No juice. So, I'm now at a point where I'm going to just start vamping things. What I mean by that is I'm not revamping, I'm actually adding new parts, because they think the positive cable on the battery is pretty much shot, and I don't think it's going to flow enough electricity to do the starter and all that stuff, so that has to be replaced. We also need to pull the starter out to see if we can get the starter to go, and in order to pull the starter out, we have to move the Camaro. In order to move the Camaro, we got to get the truck. In order to get the truck, I got to get it to start and run, and then we also have to move the Galaxy onto the pad so we can put it up on jack stands just so I can pull the starter out. This is exactly how things get out of hand.
You good?
You all right?
No, it's got a face full of rust.
We are working under an old car, so. All right, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to change my grounds up a little bit. They originally had the ground up on the intake manifold. I am moving it down to the stock location, which is what I'm showing you right now. And I'm going to talk about this for a second because it is kind of interesting how things have changed. This is the bolt that's supposed to hold the ground wire to the engine block. And it's a 1/2 inch size hole. Now the reason I know that is because it took a 1/2 inch drill to open this up. These cables that you get now are not set up for this big lug pattern that was used originally. This piece right here is probably the original piece for the ground strap that would go from the engine block to the negative side of the battery. And I'm going to put this back in play now, but I wanted you to see that you're going to probably have to, on pretty much anything that you do, open this up in order to get this to work. I'll have to go grab up a wrench, but I'm going to get this back on here. All 484 miles of it. Now, when I go and do this for final, I'm going to probably put a different kind of cable on here, a different cable on here, not a different kind, but put a different cable on it. I get that started, and I'll wrench that in. I'm just going to do that off camera because there's no reason for me to show you that. All right, now the next thing you want to talk about is the fact that you're going to need a ground strap from the engine block or the intake manifold. Typically where Ford put those to the body on the car, that'll give you a complete ground circuit on this stuff. The engine block isn't enough by itself, so I've now got the original ground strap-ish. I don't know that it's the original, but let's just call it original. The original ground strap in place, so that's good. All this is going toward us being able to hopefully try to start this thing using the solenoid and a screwdriver. If that doesn't work, I'm going to test the battery another way, and I'll show you that in just a second. All right, now I've got my ground terminal on my meter set on the ground lug on the battery, and then now I'm going to do a test and see, do I have power? Yes, I have 12 volts. Do I have 12 volts on the actual lug? I have 12 volts on the lug. Do I have 12 volts on the wire? I have 12 volts on the wire. Do I have 12 volts on the nut? I do not. So that tells me that this is probably just shot right in here. I don't know that the starter solenoid is bad, but I know that all this is a mess. And as soon as I discombobulate this, because of how nasty this is, I am probably going to break this apart so it's unusable. So I am not going to mess with this. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go and grab a set of battery cables and see what we get with that. And see if the starter will actually operate, because what we're going to do is we're going to basically run 12 volts from the battery to the lug that has the cable on it for the starter, which that cable looks pretty trash too. I mean, let's face it, God only knows, and probably the guy who originally put this car to rest for a while, how many years it's been. All right, I have my big old battery cables that my dad made a long time ago from welding wire. These things are actually older than I am. I'm going to tag that sucker onto the lug because I know the lug's got power. And what I'm going to do is not something I would normally do, okay? I would not normally play this game, but I'm probably going to end up replacing the starter solenoid with one of the old ones I have around here that's a good one, because this one's pretty nasty and rusty. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to touch this terminal, which puts straight 12 volts to the starter down there. That's the wire from the negative running into it. But listen to it, it's pushing, but you don't hear the Bendix moving. You don't hear anything with the Bendix popping off of it, which it should be doing that. The valve cover's rocking on the other side. We don't have the valve cover pushed down. But yeah, we're getting movement and sparks. But unfortunately, I don't think the Bendix is changing position at all. So that means that the Bendix on this starter is bad, and that's going to kind of stop us where we're at right now. All right, so I'm going to take these off, or this off. All of it actually, and pull the cable out of the way. All right, so probably what I'm going to do with this engine is I'm going to go ahead and do a compression test off camera just to see what we've got, and we'll report on that when we go to the final startup. But between here and there, I'm going to do something with this starter, which is namely get rid of it. In the next week's episode, and I normally don't do this, but as long as the parts come in from Total Performance, I should be good to go. We're going to be putting a lighter starter on this engine. This has the old shaft style pull starter, not the later model push starter where the actual Bendix pops out and then goes back inside the starter. And Total Performance makes a Bendix system that will work with these early bell housing flywheel combinations, which gives you a lighter starter, a smaller starter for if you're wanting to run headers, which is pretty kind of required in a case like this, because that big starter that they put on there kind of gets in the way of some of the aftermarket headers that are available. So we're going to be getting that starter, the newer starter, put in here so that we can hopefully get this thing to crank up. Because I really can't do what I want to do for a test start at this point. Well, I'm kind of bummed out because I really did want to try to get this thing started today, but we are going to go ahead and punt a little bit and change direction just slightly because we might as well fix things while we're here. I know we hear us say that a lot around here. It's one of our mantras. While we're here, we're gonna. And that's exactly what we're going to do here is while we're here, we're gonna. So do me a favor, check out the Patreon account while you're here and help support the show. What you're doing with the Patreon account is you get monthly meetings with me, you get videos that we do for our patrons that are special for them only. It doesn't affect anything on the shows here, but it is a way for us to kind of say thank you for supporting the show. If you get any kind of value out of what you're doing here at all, watching our show, then please think about supporting us on a monthly basis. Where that money goes is to actually pay the kids that come in here on Saturdays. We give them a little bit of money, we give them a lot of food, and boy howdy can boys in the teenage years eat. These cats come in here and they chew us out of house and home. Plus, Andrew eats and is also a part-time guy here who's my editor on the show. He actually does a lot of the edit work that you're seeing. So he has been with us for a long time, and he is now a part-time employee of the show. So I have to pay him. And in order to pay him, I have to bring in money. This isn't like the federal government. So, ergo, we need money. So if you're willing to support us, that's great. If not, that's fine too. Also, subscribe to the channel. We're on our march to 100,000 subscribers. We're at 90 some odd thousand right now, and we are looking for that silver plaque to put on the Paul's wall inside the shop. I'm excited. I want to get to the 100,000 because I've just been working toward this for about 11 years. I'm not one of those channels that gets a lot of people wanting to watch the show. So, guess what? This is what happens. We have to take a lot longer. But it's okay, I don't mind. Finally, folks, do me a favor, be kind to each other, love on each other, treat each other nice. You guys have a great week and we'll see you on down the road. It's just like this, isn't it? Everybody always shows you these things where they get them zippity-doo-dah startups where it's like, yay, we did it in a hurry. But this is how it usually really goes. This is the war. This is not the newsreel. We're embedded with the troops here because this is exactly what will happen to you when you're trying to do some of this stuff. We show you the problems you're going to run into and some solutions along the way. Stick around. We will try to fire this sucker off. It is rotating, which is a good sign. It's just not putting the Bendix back where it's supposed to go. Gonna fix that though. It's coming. You just pay attention. I'm gonna go in the house now.